Hey everybody, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing good. I'm doing just great. So I'm working on two guitars at the same time. As long as they don't mix their parts up together, everything should be okay. So right here is GreeneTerror's body, and it's a Les Paul body shape. Actually, it's a Les Paul body, but it's going to have a tremolo system on there. It's all painted. It's painted with a stone white, so it's not going to be a real bright white. It's going to be a little bit on kind of like the downside of white, but once I get the clear on it, it's going to kind of come out a little bit, but shouldn't be too bad under a black light. You know how black light where it reacts to certain colors of paint that really aren't responsive to a black light, but they kind of glow a little bit. So this shouldn't glow, but the pattern that's going on it, which I'm still waiting for the paint to show up for that, that should. This one here is the warmouth body, which I've been working my ass off on and trying to get rid of. I don't know if you can kind of see it or not, but the wood is nice and flat. All the grain is filled, but I can still see some of the wood design in the paint, and it's not like, it is flat. There's no waves, bumps, or anything else from the grain, but you can kind of see it. And I put a whole can of primer on here, and this is an epoxy primer, so let that dry really good, get nice and hard. Covered up the logo over here so the warmouth logo and everything else doesn't get covered in paint, and yeah, it should be really good. I kind of went a little bit on the edges over here, so there'll be some paint on the edges. That way it wraps around really good where the neck pocket is. But all in all, this thing is coming out really good. I masked off the binding as well, so I don't have to scrape a lot off of it. Yeah, so that should be working out pretty damn good itself too. So downstairs in the basement, I'm working on GreeneTerror's neck, getting that thing ready to be primed and paint. I picked up all the paint that I need for the warmouth body, so I've got a brilliant black that I can use, or I can use a Viper black. I don't know which one I'm going to end up using on that, because both of them look really good, and there's really no difference in the two. They both come basically the same thing. So I have a stone white is for GreeneTerror's, and I have a white coming, which I think it might be here already in that box. So I've got my primer. I've got, this here is a Snow White Pearl, but I sprayed it and it comes out gray with a flake in it, and it doesn't really look too good. I was going to use this for a different project. I really don't care for what this looks like. Again, with my black diamond, and here's the tangerine candy orange that is on the Flying V. And I got some clear coats over here. I think this is still good. It's starting to thicken up a little bit, so that's going to go bad. Over here, I got plenty of clear. I ended up buying more clear. There's another case right there. But inside here, I haven't really looked to see what I got going on here. Get a razor blade. Open this up. Alright, so let's see what this is here. A little bit of an unboxing. Save this paper. It works really good for masking off stuff. Alright, let's see what this is. One-handed here for removing paper. Alright, so this is the crystal white, which is white, which will be for the warmouth body, so I can put that with the black, because that's got to go together. Let's see here. I ordered some paint for a project that I'm going to be working on myself with the, was it the Muse Epiphone Muse. That's going to get a custom paint. So this is the bright silver metallic, which I love this. It works really, really nice with candy colors. That goes over there. I've been buying so much paint from these guys. I'm starting to get a little bit of a discount every time I order. So that kind of works out pretty nice. And this paint is really good. I really like using it. It sprays really nice. It's not a normal spray nozzle like you would see on, like, you know, Rust-Oleum and shit like that. This is an actual nice spray nozzle like you get from a spray gun. Oh, I'm missing a cap. Where'd the cap go? Cap's still in here. Yeah, we hear you. Alright, so this is going to be a special paint too. Something Wicked. Yeah, Something Wicked, alright. This is a mix of candy apple red, some orange. Yeah, this is going to look really, really nice on what I want to do next for a project. So that's going to go over here because that's going to get the diamond black and that color there. These guys here. This is the silver, that goes with it as well. That orange I could put away. The nice thing about using these candy colors as, you know, using them as like a transparent color instead of a solid color, you don't use a lot of it. So I've got everything here as far as what I need for paint to get things done. I ordered this with the money that the owner of the Warmouth gave, so he ended up paying for supplies that I needed. So I ordered the paint and I ordered some materials for that job. This I ordered for the GreeneTerror body, and then this stuff here I ordered myself. So this stuff here came first. I used up some blacks. I usually get a couple cans of black, but I ended up getting two different blacks, so I wanted to see which one was going to be which as far as color goes, and really there is no too much of a difference. They both look the same, but I can choose which one I want. Excuse me. So yesterday was the first time I cleaned the spray booth. Right now it's about 11 o'clock at night, so I'm not going to fire this thing up and blow it up. But cleaning out the spray booth is kind of a chore. And they recommend that if you do anything as far as cleaning it goes, don't use any type of solvents or anything that is going to eat through the material that the booth is made out of, especially with the plastics on the, you know, windows and stuff like that. They recommend using a shop vac with a brush, and that gets a lot of the dust and stuff out of it. So the primers that I use for both of these guitars is the etching primer, or the epoxy primer, and the overspray from that is unbelievable. So that kind of like clogged up the filters. It made a dust mess all over the inside of the tent, bouncy house, spray booth, whatever you guys want to call it. But it didn't mess up my garage, and I don't have dust covering everything in the garage. So that worked out really nice. So next I'll be doing wet sanding on that, doing some sanding on that because that's going to get more paint, and it's going to get a special color that is going to kind of bring out a little bit of something on here. So, you know, you guys will see that. So downstairs now, get back to working on the neck for this guitar. So I got a little bit of an unboxing before I get into what's going on with the neck for the GreeneTerror body. So I'm going to open this up right now. It's something that I use a lot of and go through it like crazy. So I had to order some more of this. Oh, one more slice. That's interesting. Must just use it for some type of padding. So I use this like crazy, and it's works really good compared to another product that I was using, which I didn't like because I couldn't paint over it. Now I've been using some of this conductive paint, high electric conductive. Now, I was using this and it works okay. It's not bad, but you can't paint over it. Paint will want to, I don't know how to explain it. It just kind of like pulls away from itself, leaving bare spots of just the shielding paint. And trying to apply the shielding paint on top of paint, it ends up doing the same thing, to where it almost reacts like there's a wax or something on the surface as you're applying that, so you have to use a lot of it to cover. This stuff here I bought in the past, and I've used a lot of it. You get it through eBay, and this is just shielding paint. I mean, there's no special labels on here. There's no anything. It comes with a brush, also comes with a ground wire. I hope they don't expect you to use this whole bottle, which is a good sized bottle, on one guitar. This is especially made for guitars. It's got a screw, it's got a piece of wire inside of it, which is a cloth wrapped insulated wire, and the nice little brush over here to apply it with. Now, these brushes, you can rinse them out with hot water and it'll clean the brushes, but after a while these brushes start to lose some of the brush material, and it gets on the paint, in the paint and stuff, and you gotta pick them out, and yeah, it's just a waste and pain in the ass. So I've been using a regular brush that I've been washing. It's a regular paintbrush. It works out really good with this, and it doesn't lose the fibers that it's made out of. So yeah, I use this stuff a lot. It works really, really good, and I can paint over it and apply it on top of paint. So what I've been doing is, anytime I am working on a guitar and you see that the inside chambers are for the pickup or whatever, have a painted surface on the inside of it, this is underneath it. All right, let's get to working on a neck here. All right, so here's GreeneTerror's neck. This is the Ghost, which I will be removing that. This is the artwork of the owner who owned this neck, owned the whole guitar at one time before he passed away. And he drew this on here, and GreeneTerror wants me to put that back on there, so I've taken some photos of it, and that will be a permanent part of the neck when I get into finishing. Now, you would think I would learn as far as working with enamel paint. Now, the body for this guitar was sprayed with enamel paint, which was a pain in the ass to get rid of, and the neck also matched the body. So you would think I would learn and, you know, not really sand, especially by hand, enamel paint, because all it does is clog up your sandpaper, and then you end up with a bunch of little flakes and chips of blue paint, enamel paint, all over the place as you're gumming up your sandpaper. And a good way to get clean this is, usually I'll wipe it on the surface. If I'm using a towel, I'll wipe it on there to unclog the paper. But the way this stuff is it clogs it up so bad to where you got to bend the paper and chip it off in order to have a clean spot of sandpaper again. So it's kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass with enamel paint, especially on guitars. It's harder to strip. So instead of doing it the hard way, I'm going to do it the easy way and use a chemical to remove the rest of the paint on this neck. So I don't want to do any sanding on the back of this neck. And as you can kind of see that there are some run marks from removing the binding, which I have a short video of that, of how I did that. And that will end up giving me a nice clean surface that's not going to be sanded down any thinner. This way, when I put the binding back on here and then do my sanding on the wood and the binding to get them to even up, everything will be nice, and I won't lose the depth of this little cutout or ledge or shelf or whatever you want to call it for the neck or binding. So I had to put a block of wood inside here. There was a nice chip inside of the headstock where the tuner was. I have to drill these out bigger anyway, so they'll be drilled out from the back, because now I got a piece of wood inside here that, even though it is shaped for the circle, it may be a little softer than the mahogany that this neck is made out of, and I don't want to risk having the drill bit go that way into the new piece of wood. That new piece of wood is just going to serve a purpose as being decorative and not looking like there was a big chip taken out of the neck. So I can go ahead and remove that. And then I don't tighten this so tight that where it's going to leave a big dent in the wood. And these guys here, they're kind of wimpy to begin with, but they do their job. So this I did last night. I can go ahead and start sanding that down. I ended up cutting it out a little bit to fit a nice square block inside there. So I've got to do some work with the neck as far as the frets go, and it seems like the frets are kind of lifting themselves. I got to do some work with the inlays that are on here, because in some of the pictures I showed that the inlays are not flat. They're kind of like bumpy, like this one here, like it's really bumpy right here. And this one here is all over the place and sticking up as well. So I have to put a little bit of CA glue inside there, clamp it down. That'll hold that. And then fill in the little gaps that are around the inlays themselves with CA glue and rosewood dust. So I'm going to get into that. Alright, so time to remove the paint off of this neck. So I'll be using acetone to do so. So you want to be very careful with acetone. It is highly flammable. You know, this stuff is like lacquer thinner almost. And it does the same thing as lacquer thinner would be. Now lacquer thinner I believe is a lot more flammable than what acetone is, but acetone still is flammable. So that'll help me soften and remove this paint to get it off of here without having to sand these edges down until I put the new binding back on. Then I'll be able to sand whatever remainder paint is on the neck and be able to sand and even up the binding with the sides of the neck. Now I want to be careful with using acetone around this area over here where I put the piece of wood inside. I don't want the acetone to loosen up the glue because I use Titebond on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this. It should be fairly easy. A little bit of elbow grease. Another thing you don't want to do is you don't want to contaminate your acetone with what's on your rags. So what I end up doing is I will pour acetone on the rag and not use the rag on top of the acetone to create a contamination inside of the canister itself. This way I always have clean acetone to work with. Let's see how well this is going to remove the paint. It's already starting to break down a little bit, wearing it out. And it's getting down to wood, or at least starting to. Now the nice thing about acetone is it evaporates pretty quickly. So what's going to happen here, instead of swelling up the wood like you would think, you know, a type of liquid would do, it will evaporate and it'll end up but damaging the wood in any way. So I've already gone through here. Looks like there might be a stain on here. This wood, I don't know. Hopefully it's not an oil base. I still have to sand this down anyways, but this works out really good. No, I guess maybe there's no stain on here. It's just basically the dampness that is creating the wood to look like there is a stain on there. So I'm going to clean this off as much as possible. I won't be able to get into the fibers of the wood. And I can clean out the groove for the binding as well. And this way with sanding it, I'll end up thinning this out over here, lose that lip, and the binding is not going to really look right. So this is going to take a little while to do, and get this stuff cleaned up. So now would probably be a good time to ask GreeneTerror, would you like to have a mahogany neck, or would you like to have the neck painted white, just like the body? Not a big deal either way, because either way, they're still going to get clear coated. So, kind of a good question. And yeah, so I'm going to wait for this to dry out really good. It feels like it's already been sanded. It's nice and smooth. You can kind of see where they had stain on here or some type of a dye on the wood, which will be sanded out when I do the sanding. But before I put the binding back on, I'll be plucking these frets out, cleaning out the fret slots, fixing these inlays, re-radiusing the whole neck, getting rid of all the high spots that are on the inlays here, fixing the inlays that are sticking up, and then fixing all of the openings between the inlay and the rosewood. All right, so that's it for now. You guys take it easy, have a good one, and have a good rest of your week.